Sharing kitchen wisdom while cooking side by side with an excellent cook is an age-old tradition. And Bryan, you and I learned so many incredible lessons from Miss Emily.
It was definitely one of the highlights of my young cooking career. You know, and the first thing that really kind of was news to me was that Hoppin John, which I've seen all my life living in the South, is not traditionally made with black-eyed peas, at least not Edisto Island. It's made with these Sea Island red peas instead.
That's right, and you know that's because these black-eyed peas resemble the red peas that were brought over on the slave ships during the slave trade, and descendants are still making the red peas with them today.
Yeah, and they have such a different flavor. Like
Yeah.
These are so much more earthy, I mean, more like soil, and these are a little bit more nutty. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna rinse our peas. So let's head to the sink. Okay, so we're just gonna fill the bowl up with cold water. Rather than draining it right away, we're gonna give it a second to let the peas settle. This is something Miss Meggett showed us that I thought was really interesting. You wanna wait and see what comes floating to the top. So these are what she calls dead peas. So these are peas and little pieces of dirt or twig we don't wanna put in the final dish. So once they're all done, we're just gonna give them a drain. We can drop these into our pot. This is 4 quarts of water. And now the next thing, the ham hock. Like we've both seen ham hocks. So she actually used a fresh ham hock, which I'd never worked with before.
I never had either.
What she did, she ran the blade of the knife along the bone.
Well, you do have to find that bone. I
Yeah.
remember that I struggled a little bit.
I like to use a boning knife because sometimes you got to wiggle around because, ham hock has a lot of little bits of cartilage and the bones are a little bit inconsistent in the hock. So we're going to drop this into our peas and we're going to add a tablespoon of table salt and we're going to turn this on high. And once it comes to a boil, we'll put the lid on, we'll go down to medium-low and let it go until the peas are tender, and that takes anywhere between 50 and 60 minutes. And the reason why we're going to use the lid is so we trap all the water and the steam and the evaporation, because we're going to use a portion of that liquid to cook our rice. Our peas have been cooking for just under an hour. So now we need to take out our ham hock and let that sit and cool. So we're also going to reserve about 2 1/4 cups of our cooking liquid here to cook our rice in. This is liquid gold. All right, so let's drain our peas. So as you notice here, we're saving all this liquid. There's a ton of flavor in this, but you can make soups, all kinds of things with this. So I don't want to throw that away. Now we are going to turn our attention to some salt pork. This was a key ingredient in Miss Meggett's Hoppin John. She took the salt pork and she rinsed it thoroughly. These pieces often come with a lot of salt crusted on the outside. And you want to remove as much of that as possible. And then we're going to cut it into 3/4 inch pieces. Once you rinse this, it's super important that you dry it well with paper towels. All right, so we're gonna throw a 1/4 cup of lard into our saucepan and put it over medium heat. So we're gonna throw a lid on this and we're gonna cook this until it's nice and rendered out. That takes about 10 or 12 minutes. So we'll give it a stir on occasion.
Okay.
Our ham hock has cooled down a little bit, and so now we could chop it up. And I gotta be honest, this is, of the many things I love about this dish, adding ham hock meat back into it is probably my favorite. Now we're looking to cut this into about 1/2 inch pieces, about 3/4 cup all day. So that's about 3/4 cup right there. Our salt pork has been sizzling away here. You can hear it sputtering, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's been cooking away for about 12 minutes over medium heat. It's all nice and crispy. Oh, that looks gorgeous and smells wonderful too, right?
So good.
So now we're gonna add a cup of chopped onion.
Love that.
3 scallions that we've cut into 1/2 inch pieces. We'll cook that until it gets softened. It takes about 3 minutes or so. At this point, we're gonna add our rice. I have 1 1/2 cups of Carolina Gold rice. And we're just gonna let that rice toast for about 2 minutes. All right, so this is the one spot where we really diverge from Miss Meggett's cooking method. We're using a peel-off method here, which helps coat the grains of rice with a little bit of fat so they don't kind of clump together as they cook. Now we're gonna add the seasoning to our rice. So we have a teaspoon of salt right here, this is table salt. A little bit of black pepper, this is 3/4 of a teaspoon. 3/4 of a teaspoon of granulated garlic. And a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. There you go. We'll just stir that all together. We're gonna drop 2 1/4 cups of our pea cooking liquid that's been fortified with all that ham hock flavor. We'll add our ham hock pieces to it. And now we're gonna add our Sea Island red peas. We'll stir this together. So, this is where a lot of people get into trouble when they combine rice and peas in the pot together, because the peas contain starch, they tend to scorch on the bottom. So this is why we relied on the peel-off method, to coat the rice with that fat to make sure it stayed separate. And we had plenty of fat in the dish to make sure nothing scorches on the bottom. Now that this is coming to a simmer, we're going to cover it with a sheet of foil. What this does is it traps all that steam in there, so it makes it a much more efficient cooking method. Put the lid on top. So now we're going to drop this down to low heat, and we're going to let it go for 20 minutes. And the most important thing anybody could ever know about cooking rice is you don't remove the lid to check it, at least not for the first 20 minutes.
We'll get you right back to the video. Check out Cook's Country's newest book, The Complete Cook's Country TV Show Cookbook. Over 16 seasons and more than 600 recipes are condensed into this cookbook, jam-packed with every recipe we feature on the show, plus stories, tips, and reviews. Go on the road with Cook's Country and tour the U.S. through food. Get inspired by dishes from restaurants, regions, and chefs all over America. All in this one convenient cookbook. To order your copy of the Complete Cook's Country TV Show Cookbook, scan the QR code or visit cookscountry.com to continue your Cook's Country journey.
The rice is cooked for 20 minutes over low heat, and then we shut the heat off, left it on the burner, and let it sit without opening the pot, removing the lid, for another 10 minutes. And that last 10 minutes is as important as the first 20. This is where the rice continues to steam gently and kind of coast into being just perfectly tender. All right, so we could do our unveiling.
Can't wait. Oh, how beautiful.
All right, so now we have to fluff the rice. Everything that day, this is probably my favorite piece of kitchen wisdom, that she didn't even speak about it, she just did it.
She just did it.
She used a carving fork to fluff the rice. And it took me a minute, and I thought she was just using it out of convenience to flip other things. But if you look at the carving fork, 2 tines, there's plenty of room for the rice to pass through. If you look at a regular fork, there's more tines on it, obviously, and you tend to mash the rice up a little bit, even though the intention is to fluff. So if you move around here, you can see how gently it kind of fluffs the rice, knocks it around a little bit. And we can just transfer it to our serving dish here. You see how those grains just kind of stay separate?
So nice.
The bottom of the pot is not scorched, nothing's burned. It's really just perfectly cooked rice. You can smell the garlic, black pepper coming through. What do you think? You ready to try some?
I'm ready for a taste.
Gosh, it just smells so good.
Okay.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
Just like, it makes me smile. It's so good.
It's so good. It's so light. That porky flavor, totally subtle.
Yeah.
Just adds a nuance of flavor.
Everything is about balance in the dish.
For full episodes of your favorite cooking shows, head over to ATK's Full Episodes channel on YouTube. You can stream complete seasons of America's Test Kitchen, Cook's Country, and more. See you there.